It's times where you're going through something, or in this sense, a meta- metaphorical sense, that when you're drowning is when you've actually realized, like, that those people by the shore, they're not real people. And but you know what you take is that when you drown is when you learn how to swim. And for me, it was that I've been just submerged in water for a long time. And from before, I realized that there was no one coming to save me, so all I could do was save myself. And that's why, to this day, is the reason why I've learned that no matter what I go through in life, I'm shown multiple times that it's just gonna be me there. Like, there's no one there. As much as there's people around, there's people sitting by the shore. Not everyone is gonna be that one person to take a step. Because one thing about people is crowd control affects a lot of things. If they don't see one person step, they're not gonna be the first one to do it because they lack the courage to. That's, well, a follower. You're not a leader. You're not leading the pack. You're not the first one gonna make that first step. But that's fine. And it's like, I don't expect people to show up for me the way I show up, but then it's like, isn't that what us meeting halfway is? Like, when you're meeting with someone, it's two people coming together. But that's what I thought until I was actually the one there. And then I realized that the only person who was going to save me was myself once again. And that's why I say I'm two people, my mind and my being. It's two people in one body. And that's why, like, when I see people like feeling down or going through something, I go there and I talk to them, even if it's not me that you want there. Like, sometimes you just want someone to ask you if you're okay. Sometimes you just want someone to lend you their ear. Because I realized that when I was going through things, I wish I had a me. And that's the thing. Like, the way I show up for other people is not the way some other people show up for themselves. That's why it's like, you can be alone, but to actually feel alone is another thing. Like, when you actually feel like there's actually no one there, it's another feeling. That's when like, just you really do just stand alone. But it shows a lot about people and their character. Like me, I'll admit, I said it before, I'll say it again, because again, I have no regrets in my past, and I could speak my truth because it's mine to speak. But you see, when I was going through things, the thing is, when you have no one to talk to, I had you guys. But like, when you're actually sitting there, when the video ends and the night ends and you're just by yourself again, it's just you. So during that time, I was cutting myself. And even while I was doing it, you see, it was like, how do I say this? The cuts were in plain sight. Like, I wasn't the type that just like did it on, like, I had a certain part of my body that I did it on, because that was where I constantly did it. So when there was scars, there was already scars there to start. So it was just like an addition to one place. And even during that moment, I thought, maybe, just maybe, even if one person saw that, they would think it was a cry for help, and they would actually want to just talk to me and be there. And what still happened? They seen it, and they went about their day, because not everybody's caring, not everyone's compassionate. And it wasn't there for them, though. It was there for me. So it was like, it was fine. But it's just nice, like, having someone ask you, like, are you okay? Like, do you want to talk about it? Things like that. And just like actually having like a type of reassurance, a type of comfort. But it really shows, like, not everyone can build up the courage to be the first one to act unless somebody else does it first. Like, they're not gonna do it. That's why I'm a natural leader. I'll admit, before I was timid as fuck. But the thing is, I've outgrown that part of myself. Now when I see something going on, I want to be the first to speak up. I want to be the first to do something about it, because I know not everybody is like that, and other people have to wait for someone to do something before they do it. And I don't want to be that person, because it's only when it's too late that you realize that if I would have stepped up, if I would have stopped being scared, I could have prevented it. And the thing about it, it's like, it takes someone dying for people to actually realize, like, the signs were in plain sight, the actions, the words, it was all matching, and still I did nothing. I didn't even try. But that's when the regret comes. That's when you realize that you were too late, and then that's when you start wishing you acted later. And again, that was what it took for me to realize that I don't want to do it anymore. Losing someone who was close to me, that's why every day with every person I'm with, I try to treat it like it's the last, because you just never know. You never know. And that's why to this day, as shy and timid as I was, as scared as I was before, I told myself I couldn't do it anymore, because I don't want to live with the regret of not saying something, or not being there, or not showing up as much as I should have. So now to this day, I try my best. I try my best. But again, they always say, like, when you have everything is when everyone's around. But it's those who are with you when you were down who are the real ones. So you have to pay attention to that. Because people only care when you shine. But once your star's not as bright as before, all of a sudden, they're not attracted to you. I mean, like, attracted to your glow. They don't want to be around it anymore. And it really does. It tells you a lot about people. So you really need to look around and ask yourself, who was there when I was going through things? Who was there? What shoulder did I have to lean on? Who was there for me to just shed tears without judging? Who was there? And I realized that when I was going through it, who was there? It was me. It was me. That's why I've grown so resilient to relying on myself, to being there for myself, because even when I did try to speak to people, it's like, do this, and it's like, they show me every time why I do everything alone. It's just because I've been shown for a long time that no matter what I did, no matter how loud I cried, it didn't matter, because it wasn't their problems. And that's when I realized that they're right. It is my problem, so I guess I'll bear the weight all by myself, and I'll do it all by myself. That's why to this day, everything I go through, I keep it to myself, because people showed me time and time again that no matter what I'm going through, it doesn't matter, and my problems will always be lesser than, because you're only 20, and it's like they make you feel small, like you're just going through it here, and imagine what this person's going through, and this person. But it's like, what about me? What about what I'm going through? I know people go through other things, but what about how I'm feeling right now? So should I neglect myself and put all my worries to the side, all my sadness to the side, and just worry about other people who aren't worried about me? There's only so much you can change in the world. There's only so much places you could be at once. But shouldn't I be there foremost for the person who's right in front of me, who's always been there? That's why you need to learn to be there for yourself. Learn to love yourself, because at the end of the day, you have to realize people come and people go. Not everybody is temporary, and there will be a time again when you will be alone. But once you get accustomed to it, you realize that your best friend was always the person in the mirror, always the person in the camera. It's you. It's you. Okay. So, even when you're going through something, sometimes it's nice to have someone there, but someone's not always going to be there. But you know who will? You will be. So learn to fly, learn to swim, and, well, give it your best. And if you have to do it alone, do it regardless.